Lancia engine's crankshaft has been damaged because of the twisted conrod, and also the piston has worn badly and the bores are worn badly. So we're going to concentrate on the cylinder head here, because we want to at least find something of that engine that we can salvage. Now, what we need in each combustion chamber, which is this little hemispherical bit here, is we need a good gas tight seal. So we need a good seal between this and the cylinder block, but also we need all of the valves to have a good gas tight seal, because if we don't have that, it will be down on compression, and low compression means that when the air fuel mixture is ignited by the spark plug, it means that some of that gas and some of that power will escape underneath the valve seats and straight out without doing the work that we need it to do. So that's why it would lose power. So what we've got, here's the valves. We've got a valve that sits down in there, goes into a little guide, and then it's pushed open and closed by the action of the camshaft via the rockers. So every time that needs to let in or exhaust gases, these valves open and close at the correct time. So what we want to try and do is see if we've got a good gas tight seal around this sealing face of the valve, which is around here, and the sealing face of the valve seat, which is a steel one pressed into this aluminium cylinder head. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a vacuum source to go on to this bit of the cylinder head here, and this is the direct inlet to this valve here. So if I put my little suction pad on there like so, switch on my vacuum source, I can see whether we've got a gas tight seal, and that one is a little bit on the low side. So what we're going to have to do is lap the valves into the valve seats to create a good gas tight seal. Aaron, I could do with these valve seats being refaced, and you're the expert at that.
Yeah.
So we need to get a new gas tight seal machined onto here. So we've got a first step for which we use this machine.
Yeah, this valve seat grinder.
Okay, and so what angle do these seats have to be at? Because I can see that is like an angle of, I don't know, what is it, like 45 degrees or something?
Yeah, exactly, 45 degrees these valves are at.
Okay, so do we need to set this up?
Yeah, we've got this set already, and it's got a little gauge here.
Okay.
We just line it up here, and that's 45 degrees to the stone.
All right, so do those go in the end?
Yeah.
Like there?
Just slide in there.
Okay. Then that gets tightened up.
Tighten them up, and the valve's in there tight. And then start the machine.
So you're gradually just feeding it in, and this turns around, and so as soon as you can see that you've got a nice even machined face on that valve, you know that it's done.
Yeah, that's it. So we're about done now.
So that's a beautifully machined face on the valve sealing edge there, but that still needs to be lapped into the valve seat, doesn't it? And this valve seat needs to be machined as well, so that it matches.
Yeah, that's it.
So what about the top of the valve stem here, where the rocker arms press against there? Because I can see that that's kind of just got a little bit of uneven wear on there. Now the reason why we need to make sure that this surface is nice and flat is because we need to allow for the expansion of this valve when it gets hot. So when it gets hot, it gets longer. So we need a little gap between the rocker arm and the top of the valve. And if we don't have a flat top of the valve stem, then we can't accurately measure the distance of that gap between the top of the valve stem and the rocker arm. And that's called setting your tappets. Can you reface that as well?
Yeah, again we use this machine. We're still keeping the 45 degree position.
Okay, cool.
And just move them in.
Okay, so does that just sit in there?
Sit in there, and then you just press against the stone.
So now that's been machined flat, so the rocker arm will just actually press against the top rather than against the little wibbly wobbly bit there.
That's it.
Okay, so that's one valve done. There's another load for you.
Thank you.
Okay, cheers. Right, so now our valves have to sit nicely in there, and their sealing faces have to go against each other there. So that's an exhaust and that's an inlet, so that one will go down there. So, how do you do those ones?
Right, to start off with, we get a pilot here.
Okay.
This pilot sits inside the valve guide.
Okay,
so we've got a true centre.
Right.
We then get the valve stone.
So that valve stone is set to 45, or is ground to 45 degrees.
Yep, that's it. So again, 45 degrees. Just put a little bit of lubrication on.
Of course, a little bit of lubrication is always necessary. Right, okay. So that's just going to turn on that valve seat and grind that seat.
Grind the seat, that's
All
it.
right, okay.
Simple as that.
Let's have a look there. And that's it.
That's it, and as you can see, we've got a nice shiny seat, the same as when we had it with the valves.
So what we just need to have is just a consistent shiny surface around there, and we know that all of that sealing face has been cut.
That's it.
And ground. Yeah. Okay,
So,
fantastic. So it's just then move on to the next one.
That's it. We'll just pop them in there.
Okay. So all of those seats have been completely refaced. They're nice and shiny. So the next thing that we need to do is to lap these valve seats in with the actual seats here within the head, so that they are a nice gas tight seal, so that when they close fully and no gas can escape around there. So even though they've been machined, we've still got to go further. In order to do that, we have to use a very old-fashioned method, using a stick with a sucker on the end, which goes onto the valve, like so. And then we use some grinding paste. And the grinding paste, only a little bit, don't need to use much, just gets put onto that sealing face of the valve there. So just put a little bit around there, a little bit on the edge. And the idea is that when it's fully cut and when they're lapped in together, that shininess will be diminished. So a little bit of oil into the valve guide, then in goes our valve, like so. Then I cut or lap the valve like so. A little bit, and then turn. A little bit, turn. A little bit, turn. A little bit, turn. A little bit, turn. Right. I can hear that my grinding paste has disappeared. So I'm just going to wipe that away and see if I have actually got a nice finish between the valve and its seat in the head. So I can see that around the valve it's a bit duller around that outer face, and that is the face that is mating with the seat in there. And then pop the valve back in. Then we can connect up our vacuum source to there, and hopefully we'll get a good reading. Oh yes,
perfect.
Look at that. Right, we've got 7 more to do and a light skim of the cylinder head as well. Then it will be ready to go on to whatever remains of that Lancia engine.